Hello and welcome back to KivyTips. In this episode, I'll show you a way for promoting a Kivy property into almost something like Python class variable. The struggle is that Kivy properties are already defined at the class level and are usable inside of each instance separately without influencing the rest of the sister instances. I guess I can't really change it from Python itself. I would need to play with Python to actually allow changing the value like it works for class variables. Well, if it's even possible. It obviously isn't that hard to promote it to a meta-class attribute, but the problem is with event dispatcher that actually listens to the changes and dispatches the appropriate on-property events. That might not work at all with the current implementation of the event dispatcher and or properties themselves. So we would need some work in there to promote them completely. I'll at least partially revert the default behavior of properties with this workaround, which will still let me use the features of Kivy properties. I won't be able to change them to class variables. Let's start with two simple classes. One will be our app class, and the other one will have the shared property. To make it easier for the video, I'll use a string property. Let's continue with building a widget tree so that we could actually see what's happening, as it's more visual friendly than just printing stuff. We will build a tree divided into two parts. The right one will be buttons that will be able to set the property values, and the left side will contain disabled buttons with the original value the right side holds, and which will be used for broadcasting to the other instances of the MyButton class. This is pretty much the structure we will work with. Every other button on the right side doesn't hold a shared property. Also, let's make the left part more readable, as the text is just too long. The hexadecimal numbers aren't really nice to show if they all look like the same. So for this video I'll use a list of some words and replace the text value so that if the property value changes, we will see to what. Let's set the property's shared value and base our behavior on this boolean, which will make it cleaner to read after and use the words from the list. After our instances are separated to those which share the property and to those that don't, we can add the shared ones to a class variable that will hold the instances. As it's written in the comment, we will need to force the dispatching of our property. Imagine a custom button with a property. You would want to change the property and print the value in onProperty event. Now let's say the property won't have force dispatch enabled. If we change the value to exactly the same value, the onProperty event won't be dispatched. We need this behavior to base our broadcasting on. We will need to get an access to some higher class within our myButton class, and for that we will use our app class, which we can get with app.getRunningApp. an on-release event will make the property changes visible to us quite easily, but we still need to make the output more readable. Nice, it's showing the values in the instances for now. This is basically an example for an on-property event with some additional lines. Now we'll move it a little bit further. The logs dictionary we created before will help us. The dictionary is a rather global container and will hold logs and queues for the properties we decide that will have a shared property. Each log will consist of these things: a current value of the property, a queue that we will append new values to, a clock event which will be checking the queue values, and our real log which will be an event updating the values across the instances. Let's append the current value to the queue and define a function updateValues, which will be a static method, basically a function we can call with the class name .function. This function will be our broadcasting method. Obviously, we will need an access to the logs dictionary, that's why we need an app instance. Then we need to access the instance list of our class. Make sure you save it with copying, because if you create a new instance during the broadcasting, the new instance in the list might cripple the broadcasting. For each instance, we will update the shared value property and then make it visible with changing the text of the button. When all instances are updated, the copied list will be empty and then we can just delete it. Also, we need to change the currently broadcasting value to none. Now, let's make sure we actually use the queue for our property. We will also need to make the function a static method so that we could use it properly. Make sure we won't update the instances if there is a log or if there is an empty queue. Otherwise, it will result in something bad. However, feel free to try so when the code is complete. After the basic checks, we can safely pop a value from our queue and use it for broadcasting. That's our update values method. We need to switch from pure method calling to clock event so that we can see the changes properly, and at the same time we will use this event as a log for our broadcasting. And of course, don't forget to cancel the event after the updating is done, or you will get this result. Now, let's see the final result. In case you would like to bind to the shared properties, you will need to use onSharedValue event. You can, for example, inherit from my button and then override the onSharedValue method with including supercall so that the broadcasting code is still executed first, and then the additional stuff, such as whatever you would like to do in an ordinary onProperty method. Just a little note, obviously, it has a nasty thing going on, and that is that you can't really update the property value in a while loop or with anything faster than the broadcasting right now, because, for example, if you alternate it between, let's say, two values, and at least one value would be already in the queue or broadcasted, that value will be completely ignored as it will not allow you to add a new value to the queue. You may try to just update the queue directly. It should work that way. Obviously, you will shoot yourself in the foot if you just copy-paste this to the production code. This is supposed to be just a preview of something you can achieve. Let's call it a prototype. For now, it works only for a single property named sharedValue. However, it shouldn't be that hard to change the behavior to a mixin or something more general instead of fixing it to a single property in a single class. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to my channel.